Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We would like to present about political stability and FDI around the world, a correlation analysis. In these studies, we have 10 group members. First one is Adnan, Saaralisraf, Izzat Akmal, Ibnur Shahril, Faizal, Ashabila, Nagihah, Adnin, Azleenda, and the last one is Farizatul Insyirah.
Subject area, economics. More specific subject area, international trade and politics. Type of data, political stability, foreign direct investment, tables and figures.
Net, how data was acquired is retrieved from the World Development Indicator WDI World Bank. We get data from 1996 until 2020, which country relate data, political stability and foreign direct investment. Next, data format is raw, semi-analysis and analysis, and experiment factor is data filtering.
Experimental features. Political stability and foreign direct investment data was extracted from the World Development Indicator database. The complete political stability data were derived by converting the political stability data to index because political stability had 6 items, where a small value under 1.0 will be divided by 1 times 100%. Then, the value obtained will be added to the value of each other political stability item according to the year. Finally, the amount obtained from the addition will be divided by 6. The data was then analyzed with a correlation analysis method to produce the correlation between political stability and foreign direct investment. Data source location. The data was retrieved from the World Development Indicator World Bank in June 2022. Data accessibility. Raw data can be retrieved through the World Development Indicator World Bank. The converted data are upon request.
According to Kim Hudson 2010, India studied political stability and foreign direct investment. There are some methods they use, such as example, percent correlation, full all-SS estimation, which robust standard errors, random effect estimation results. The results are consistent with the argument that political stability factor are important in explaining FDI flows. They also find the FDI inward performance as consistently positive relationship with the level of corruption of government, while negative relationship with the political right when key variables from factor analysis are included. Second, according to Madalina Ranu 2015, India study political stability, a condition for sustainable growth in Romania. The purpose of the paper is to analyze the influence of political stability on economic growth in Romania and to conclude to what extent this political factor is a condition for a future and continuous sustainable growth in our country. There are various variables measuring economic growth and political stability in Romania. By using statistical and econometric approach, correlation and multivariate regression, we conclude that political stability has an important role in a country's economic growth, and that a stable political environment has been within a coherent and continuous path for sustainable development. According to Faizal Ahmad Fazali, 2019, India studied that the impact of political stability on foreign direct investment in South Asian countries focusing on Afghanistan. The main objective of the research paper is to postulate the relationship between political stability and foreign direct investment (FDI) through panel and time series data analysis for the period of 1996 until 2017 in South Asia and Afghanistan, respectively. This study used the multiple regression model represented by generalized method of movement (GMM) for such Asia as well as VER and OLS for Afghanistan. The regression result based on GMM revealed that political stability has a positive impact on FDI inflow in South Asia, and the rest of control variables such as control of corruption, trade openness are also significant with negative and positive relationships in turn. Furthermore, the feeding of VAR and OLS show that political stability and control of corruption have positive and negative impact on FDI inflow in Afghanistan, but trade openness and government expenditure are not even marginal significant.
According to Arfan Shahzad et al. 2020 India study, political stability and the foreign direct investment inflows in Pakistan stated that a political stability enhanced the probability of attracting more FDI inflows into the developing countries. Pakistan has been suffering from the instability of the political system. This in turn may adversely affect the inflow of FDI into Pakistan and discourage the international investment. The ever-changing political system and the unstable government can cause political risks, which will adversely affect the level of foreign and domestic investment. Of course, political instability is not good since it will adversely affect the country's economic development and growth process by its then on the physical and human resources. If the country's political stability condition is not good, foreign investors will hesitate to bring any projects until they are assured that the business environment would be conducive and favorable. According to Saaralisraf et al. 2016 India study called Integrated Model to Measure the Impact of Terrorism and Political Stability on FDI Inflows, empirical study of Pakistan, stated that since its independence in 1947, Pakistan has been lacking the blessing of political stability, and at the present, it is a common phenomenon which is hindering the economic growth as well as shaking the confidence of foreign investors. In Pakistan, FDI, political instability and terrorism are interlinked with each other for the last decade. Past studies have demonstrated that political stability has a positive impact on FDI inflows in Pakistan. However, foreign investors are hesitating to invest in Pakistan because of their unstable policies and deteriorating political landscape. Indeed, political stability leads a country toward economic sustainability and prove its competitive edge in the globalization era, which is essential for developing and sensitive countries such as Pakistan. Manifold opportunities can be generated just because of the political stability in a country.
According to Peter and Philip 2017 India study, the relevance of political stability on FDI, WER analysis and ARDL models for selected small, developed and instability threatened economies. After conducting 3 steps empirically, it was obtained that there is a long-term relationship between political stability and FDI for the panel of small economies, while we find no empirical evidence of such a relationship for both panels of larger and more developed economies. According to Arfan Shahzad et al. 2015 India study, impact of foreign investment in the Yemen economy growth, the country political stability as a main issue. The results suggest that political stability plays a significant role among other determinants of foreign investment in Yemen. According to Ahmad Jafri et al. 2011 India study, political stability and FDI in OIC country. Our empirical results indicate that population openness and gross domestic product (GDP) have a positive impact on FDI, whereas political stability has a detrimental effect on FDI in OIC countries.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Adnan bin Nawawi, S54256. I would like to present about value of data in our research. Number one is filling gaps or research gaps on political stability and foreign direct investment (FDI) around the world. The second one is presents the first complete FDI data for each country in the world according to the region. The third one is allows generalizations to more general principles about the field of international economics. Number four is sharpen the definition of a concept or relationship in political stability and foreign direct investment FDI around the world. Number five is has greater implications for practical problems. Number six, build or improve instruments to collect and analyze data using correlation analysis. Number seven, provide opportunities to collect data constrained by insufficient time factors to other researchers. And number eight, provides the possibility to produce an exploration of any issue with existing techniques with respect to this topic. Number nine, reveal a strong complementary relationship between trade openness and capital formation in promoting economic growth. And the last one is data on countries' international investment positions have been published by the International Monetary Fund (IMF) in recent years for most industrial and few developing countries, with coverage typically starting in the 1990s. That's all. Thank you from me.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. I'm Noor Nagihah Binti Zahid. I will explain about data. To compute the political stability and foreign direct investment (FDI) around the world, we compile from the Worldwide Governance Indicators (WGI) database from the various countries. We also compile from the WGI and conclude the seats of political stability data and absence of violence. Number of source percentile rank lower bound of 90% confidence interval and percentile rank upper bound 90% confidence interval and standard error.
According to graph 1, we can see a correlation political stability and FDI. Based on the graph, there are countries that have a positive correlation and there are also a negative correlation. The dot line represents the mean for correlation from around the world. This line is represented by y equal 0.0009x. This indicates that the elasticity for that line is 0.0009, which means that if political stability change by 1%, it will cause the FDI to change by 0.0009%. The R square is 0.0223. This tells us that the political stability explained by 2.23% of the variability in FDI. If we look at the graph from the top section, we can see that the strength of the correlation will decrease as we get closer to the mean line. There are also countries that even recorded a negative correlation. The top three countries that show a strong correlation is Zambia 0.97, second Trinidad and Tobago 0.77 and Philippines 0.77. All the three countries are developing country. So we maybe can assume that the possibility for developing country to have a strong and positive correlation is large. Meanwhile, the country that nearly to the origin line, like Russian Federation, Zimbabwe, Qatar, Denmark, Vietnam, Portugal, Brazil and Italy indicate a weak correlation or relation between the variable, whether the relationship is positive or negative depend on the value obtained. The situation for the country on the origin line like Argentina, Guinea-Bissau, Nepal is indicate there are no relationship between the variable. And also after that, the strong negative correlation between the political stability and FDI is like Niger negative 0.7 negative 0.67. Second, Madagascar negative 0.58 and Burkina Faso negative 0.61. It means that it has an indirect relationship between FDI and political stability. In this case, if political stability change by 1% for each country, FDI will decrease 0.67% for Niger, 0.61% for Burkina Faso and 0.58% for Madagascar.
For Asia countries, according to the graph, the plot show that there are 15 ASEAN countries that show a positive relationship between FDI and political stability. Among them is Armenia, which has a relationship between FDI and political stability of 0.33. In addition, Cambodia is 0.16, India and Indonesia each is 0.55, and the highest strong relationship is the Philippines is 0.77, which is FDI and political stability have a relationship at 0.77%, so that there is a strong relationship. This country, we assume the FDI and political stability is strong positive relationship. Meanwhile, the higher negatively correlations between political stability and FDI is Brunei, which is negative 0.32. Mongolia, which is negative 0.29, and the strong negative correlations is Thailand, which is negative 0.52. So that we assume the political stability in Thailand is strong negative correlation with FDI.
According to the Table 1 and Europe scatter plot graph, there are no countries in Europe that show a positive strong correlation between political stability and foreign direct investment, even moderate strong correlation. The highest positive correlation between political stability and FDI among countries in Europe is Lithuania with correlation value 0.32. which indicates that there is a weak correlation between the variable. Although the correlation between political stability and FDI in Lithuania is not strongly correlated, Lithuania is a developed country according to IMF and World Bank with a high income advanced economy and high in the Human Development Index. After that, the highest negative correlation between political stability and FDI among countries in Europe is Poland, with correlation value negative 0.53, which indicate that there is a negative relationship between the variables. This means that an increase in political stability will lead to decrease in FDI. Overall, as can be seen from the scatter graph, the regression equation for our data is y equal to negative 0.0057x. For each 1% increase in political stability, the expected FDI will decrease by 0.0057%. Besides that, the value of R squared is 0.0511. This tells us that the political stability explain about 5.1% of the variability in FDI. According to the Africa scatter plot graph, there are a lot of countries in Africa that show a positive correlation between political stability and FDI. The highest positive correlation between political stability and FDI among countries in Africa is Zambia, with correlation value 0.98, which indicate that there is a very strong correlation between the variables. This means that political stability is highly influenced by FDI in the country. Meanwhile, Rwanda categorized in strong correlation between variables because the correlation value is 0.62. The correlation for Botswana, Sierra Leone, and Tunisia are 0.55, 0.41, and 0.40, which indicate that there is a moderate strong correlation between the variables. After that, the highest negative correlation between political stability and FDI among countries in Africa is Niger, with a correlation value negative 0.67, which indicate that there is a negative relationship between variables. This means that a negative correlation means it has an indirect relationship. An increase in political stability will lead to decrease in FDI. In this case, if political stability increase 1%, FDI will decrease by 0.67%. Overall, as can be seen from the scattered graph, the regression equation for our data is now equal to 0.0031x. For each 1% increase in political stability, the expected FDI will increase by 0.0031%. Besides that, the value of R square is 0.0173. This tells us that political stability explains about 1.7% of the variability in FDI.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Mohamad Akmal, member of Rozilan, S55312. Today I would like to explain about political stabilities and foreign direct investment FDI in North American region. From this graph, we can see that the highest positive correlation in political stabilities and foreign direct investment FDI is Trinidad and Tobago. The value of correlation in this country is 0.77. This shows that the political stability is highly influenced by the FDI in this country. Second, the country that have a moderated strong correlation between this variable is Nicaragua, Bahamas, and Dominica. From Nicaragua, the correlation value is 0.38 and Bahamas is 0.34. For the Dominica is 0.22. That indicated that there is a moderate strong correlation between these variables. The thirdly is the highest negative correlation between the variable among North American country is Honduras. The value correlation in this country is negative 0.37. This means that there is a negative relationship between the variable. Negative correlation means it has an indirect relationship, increase in political stability that lead to the decrease in foreign direct investment (FDI). In this situation, if political stability increase by 1%, this will lead to decrease of 0.67% in foreign direct investment (FDI). In this graph, the dot line is referred to correlation in North America region. The line is Y same 0.21x. The R square is 0.1604. That explains that political stability is about 16% of the variable in foreign direct investment (FDI).
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Saaralisraf Mustafa. I want to continue for South America, FDI and political stability. Okay, according to the table 1 and South America skate plot graph, we can see that the relationship between FDI and political stability in South America is quite volatile. That can be proven when the country of Argentina show no value of a correlation coefficient that is 0. For Bolivia, the value of the correlation coefficient is negative 0.27, which is a weak correlation. Next, for Brazil, the value of the correlation coefficient is negative 0.03. This is a very weak correlation for FDI and political stability. For Chile, the value of the correlation coefficient is 0.05, which is a weak correlation. Next, for Colombia, the value of the correlation coefficient is 0.17, which is a very weak correlation. For Ecuador, the value of correlation coefficient is the same as Argentina, which has no correlation. For Guyana, showed that the value of the correlation coefficient is 0.24, which is a weak correlation. Next, for Paraguay, correlation coefficient is a 0.14, which is a very weak correlation. For Peru, it is the only country that recorded the highest negative moderately strong correlation coefficient value of negative 0.41 for this South America. Next, for Suriname, the value of the correlation coefficient is a 0.27, which is a weak correlation. And finally, for Uruguay, the value of the correlation coefficient is a negative 0.11, which is a very weak correlation.
In conclusion, we can conclude that topic of political stability and foreign direct investment (FDI) around the world is unstable, as we can see through the correlation analysis test conducted. There are countries that have positive relationship between political stability with foreign direct investment (FDI), and the other countries that have negative level of correlation. Countries with high political right have higher FDI outflows. Also, countries with high level of corruption of government and low level of democracy have higher FDI inflows.